Hi everyone, and welcome to the Harlequin 75th anniversary book haul. I am so excited because I have been reading Harlequin forever, for as long as I can remember, and these are my all-time favorite romances. I remember going to the library and running straight away to the Harlequin paperback section, and I wasn't the only one because all of those books I checked out, even though they had just come out, were worn and weathered from all of the other people that were checking them out from the library as well. And I always thought, and still do, that Harlequin has the most epic romances of all time, which is no surprise why they are still going strong after 75 years. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from Lisa Latte Books, and you're watching the Harlequin Books channel, where we talk all about romance books. All right, I have 8 books from the Harlequin 75th anniversary book haul to share with you. And each of these comes with a bonus story, so you're in for a treat because I'm going to tell you about all 16 stories. Our first book is Taming a Heartbreaker by Brenda Jackson, which could also be called When Carmen Tamed Redford. So, Carmen is a hopeless romantic. She believes true love conquers all, and she has had a huge crush on Redford for quite a while now. And finally, at a wedding, they have a really great moment, a heart-to-heart. They hook up. She thinks everything's going to be great, and then Redford totally ghosts her. Now, to be fair, Redford isn't a total jerk. He was super in love with his ex-girlfriend and then found out that she cheated on him, which totally devastated him. And so he just likes to keep things casual so that he is never hurt again. However, fast forward a couple months and Carmen is actually pregnant from their one night together. So you'll have to read this to find out if Redford actually goes and takes the leap and reaches out to Carmen. The bonus story in here is A Little Bit of Love by Cynthia Williams, which is pretty much every woman's fantasy. She gets pulled over by some super hunky cop who later it turns out is single and looking for love. The next book is No Turning Back by Lindsay McKenna, which is a military romance where they are both in the military and actively deployed. Now, Ram has been secretly in love with Dare forever. However, he is her manager, and as such, he cannot really engage in any kind of romantic relationship with her. However, they're about to be deployed, and he really just can't hold it in any longer, so you'll want to read this to find out what happens. The bonus story in here is Cold Case Investigation by Nicole Helm, where a private investigator gets caught in a fire, but don't worry, she was rescued by a hunky firefighter and then ends up hanging out with him in a super romantic way. She's pregnant and they live happily ever after. Well, almost happily ever after, because they still need to solve the murder investigation and find out who was trying to kill her in the first place. The next book is Rancher's Law by Diana Palmer, and this book has a ton of drama in it. So this is a second chance romance. But let's start with the drama first. So Cal and Amelia have been super close friends, and they're incredibly attracted to each other. They finally give in to their attraction, and Cal, isn't sure what to do. However, after a long solo, soul-searching time, he decides that he's going to propose and she's the one. However, during said solo time, Amelia, on her own, finds out she's pregnant, but ends up in the hospital with a miscarriage, and her aunt disapproves of the whole thing altogether, and she runs into Cal first and tells him that Amelia got rid of the kid, she doesn't like him, and Cal is super hurt, and of course, what does he do? He decides to run out and get married right away. I know, that was like a crazy plot twist. I was like, wait, what? So that was his response. And so for her, as her response, she decides to take her chemistry major because she's just graduated from college and become a bodyguard. Yes, another crazy twist. I promised you there would be lots of drama in here. So fast forward, he is a detective, she's a bodyguard, and their paths end up crossing again. So they're going to see if they can rekindle that romance. And the bonus story in here is by one of my favorite authors, Terry Wilson. It is Dog Days of Summer, and it is a New Yorker, big city veterinarian who has been forced to go to a small town in Texas and do a veterinary internship for a year in order to satisfy her scholarship so that she doesn't have to pay back any of her vet school loans. And while she's there, she ends up falling in love with the local pediatrician. Save Me by Sharon Sala is both a second chance romance and a romantic suspense. So we have Hunter and Lainey. They are childhood sweethearts, high school sweethearts. They are planning to go away to college together. However, Hunter and Lainey's parents don't really want them together, mainly Lainey's parents because they are super wealthy and Hunter's parents are super not. So Lainey obviously gets pregnant and she wants to tell Hunter right away, but her family wants nothing to do with him and they don't even want her to have the baby. So they take her and lock her away somewhere, but she really wants to get back to Hunter. So she tries to escape, and during the escape, she ends up having a miscarriage. Now, Hunter, in the meantime, has no idea where Lainey is, and Hunter has his scholarship taken away because Lainey's dad is so upset. He's super powerful and somehow has the ability to get Hunter's scholarship revoked. So he has no plans and nothing to do, and he can't find Lainey. So he decides to enroll in the army. So fast forward many years later, and Lainey has used her trust fund and become a radiology technician out in Denver. And Hunter has served his time in the military and is really great at tracking people with his army skills. And that's going to come in handy because now Lainey has a stalker and she happens to be out on a hike in Colorado. Hunter hears about it and he is going to come to her rescue. The bonus story in here is Silenced Witness by Katie Richards, in which we have a woman who is trying to clear her brother's name and ends up falling in love with the private investigator who helps her. The next book is A Murderer Among Us by Heather Graham. It is a second chance romance that is set in New Orleans. Now, there are so many amazing tropes going on in this book. I'm not even sure which one I like the most. So we'll start with trope number 1, which is second chance romance between Chase and Sky. So Chase's grandfather was in the same band as Sky's dad, and they are always together and end up falling in love. However, they don't stay together because Sky's dad is killed. Now, it's ruled an accident, but Sky is sure something happened, and she's so sad and upset over it that she can't be anywhere near anybody in her dad's band, including Chase. Even though he wasn't in the band, it just reminds her of her dad. So fast forward in 7 years, and we have the fake relationship trope, which is because Sky is convinced that she can find out who the real murderer is of her dad, and she can do that during the band's reunion. Now, her dad's dead, so she's going to step in for vocals for her dad, and Chase's grandfather is dead, so Chase is going to step in for him as well. And Chase just happens to be an FBI agent and gets special approval to do this as an official investigation. And he's really worried about her and tells her not to investigate, but he knows he can't stop her. So he tells her, we need to be in a relationship and just say that we are even though we aren't, so that I can keep you safe from the killer who is among them, a murderer among us, in the band. Now, the third trope is forced proximity because they are together all the time, practicing for the band, hunting down the killer, and obviously falling in love. The bonus story in here is Wyoming Mountain Investigation by Juno Rushdan, and this is a second chance romance between a fire investigator and an FBI agent. Now, if you are looking for the best summer beachy romance read, this is it. It is A Beach House Beginning by Rayanne Thane. Now, this couple has chemistry that is totally off the hook. I couldn't stop wanting this story to go on and on and on between Wes and Jenna. They are like the perfect couple. So Wes is a single dad with a daughter and a cat, and Jenna is a single mom with a daughter and a dog. They're totally meant to be together, and they just happen to both be renting apartments at this big house, which has an apartment on each floor. There are 3 floors. She has 1 floor, he has the other, and so they're constantly bumping into each other. And it also helps that their daughters totally get along. So it's just a matter of time before these two fall in love and become a big happy family. The bonus story at the end of this book is A Beauty and the Beast by Michelle Lindo Rice, in which we have opposites attract. So we have the town recluse, who is a super introvert, who falls in love with a incredibly outgoing, super TV spokesperson celebrity. Now we are on to A Woman Scorned in Renegade Wife by B.J. Richards. So we have Geneva, who wakes up to have a very, very, very bad day, like in triplicates. So first, everything she has been stolen and wiped out. Her jewelry, her money in the bank, even the beautiful luxury sports cars in her garage. They're both gone. Now, her husband has totally left her because all of his stuff has been cleared out of the closet, and everything else in the house, like her clothes, are totally fine and left there intact. So what's a girl to do? She calls her friend. So this leads to bad day part number 2, where she finds out her friend has done the exact same thing to her husband, which means that her friend and her husband have run off together with all of their money and all of their belongings. And then to make the day even better, as the third bad part of her day, there are really dangerous men lurking outside, looking in the windows and looking for her husband, who is no longer there. Now, with a little investigating, she finds a secret stash of pictures of her husband's from his other life, which means he's a total con man and completely set her up. He waited exactly to the day after she received a huge inheritance, and then he wiped out the bank accounts and disappeared. So she decides to go to where those pictures were taken, which is Montana, and hunt him down. She hires Calhoun, who is going to help her and also protect her from the bad guys that have followed her, and they end up falling in love. The bonus story in this book is Mile High Mystery by Cindy Myers, where we have an FBI agent whose WITSEC protection person has just been killed, and she needs to not only inform that person's brother, but also protect him, because she thinks that her real identity has been found and he is now in danger and possibly knows something that the killers want. Next, you should forget Bumble and Hinge, because the best way to find true love and get married is on a dating reality TV show called Tying the Knot, which is the name of the book by Brenda Jackson. So in Tying the Knot, the contestants are on there for an entire month, at which time they find their soulmate and get married. Now, Aja has just turned down an arranged marriage, which was very lovely by her parents, but that's really not what she wants. She wants to find her own love, and her parents are all upset at her, and her brother is even more of a rebel than she is. He wants to be an actor, and he wants to audition for this show. So for moral support, she tags along, and she ends up being asked to be on the show. So her brother cannot be on the show unless she agrees to as well. So she figures, why not? And at the same time, Grady gets talked into being on the show as well. He wasn't really looking to be on the show, but he is convinced that the stats are kind of in his favor, and he's been trying so many other things and it just hasn't worked out. And he very much is looking to settle down, get married, and have kids. So he figures, why not? So on the show, Grady and Aja totally have lots of chemistry, end up getting married, so you'll have to read the book to find out if afterwards they stay married or if they end up having an annulment. And the bonus story in this book is Road Trip Rivalry by Mona Shroff. And we have 3 people, and not 3 people, like it's not a threesome. We have 2 people who are going to fall in love on their trip from wherever, I'm not even sure where they start out, but they're heading to Dublin. Now, while they're heading to Dublin, they both happen to be the only people on the entire plane who speak Gujarati and can help this really nice older lady to communicate with the stewardesses and get around because she doesn't speak any English. Now, the nice lady has decided to stick with them because the plane gets derailed and they end up landing in Cork instead of Dublin, and they need to rent a car and drive themselves over to Dublin. Now, one of them does not know how to drive a stick, and the other person has a rental car because obviously there's a shortage if the whole plane was delayed, and so they end up deciding to go all together. This is a really fun romantic comedy, and so each of these books I skipped ahead to the end just to check out the bonus story, like a couple paragraphs, and then I went back to the main story. And so this one, I read a couple paragraphs, and then I read a couple more, and then all of a sudden I was done with the book. And it wasn't like the other stories were bad or anything. I just could not stop reading this one. It was so cute and it was so funny. And it's pretty much the only time I've read a romance where they've been on a plane and it was actually entertaining, like a plane being stuck on a plane scene. Anyways, that's a wrap. But those are all of the stories. They're all great. You have 16 stories in there. I promise you are going to find not one, but many, and possibly all of them to absolutely love and call your new romance favorite. All right, that's a wrap on the Harlequin 75th Anniversary Collection. I hope you love that and found a ton of great stories that you can't wait to read right now. And remember, if you like hearing about romance books, then make sure to hit the subscribe button below, because that is all we talk about on this channel. And we post new videos all the time. All right, happy reading, and I will talk to you later. Bye.